Our problems won't go away. National debt levy will still be here with me. And they might tell me next, we're going to the IMF. Yes, we gotta think about the nation's future. When the carnival over. Institutions religiously. That is why you won't win the crown. So it's time that you abandon commentary. Girl, it seems that you do not know the true purpose of this great calypso art form. Every true Caisonian has an obligation to inform. Because when the carnival over, we still need a brighter day. We don't dance the soca. Our problems won't go away. There'll still be corruption. There'll still be drug barons. The whole healthcare system will still be frightening. We gotta think about the nation's welfare. When the carnival over.
Say a pleasant good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And how are we doing this afternoon? I hope each and every one of you guys are having a blessed one. It is Monday, the 18th day of August, 2025. And we're ready for another class in session program. After we would have enjoyed the little carnival season, it is over. And so we're ready again.
The woman is a very serious question in this era. It is not something to make fun, to make you jump up and down in the masquerade. Because when the carnival over, we still need a bright.
Let me just inform some of the viewers on YouTube.
And that's it so.
You might just get a little break now and then.
Plans won't go away. Domestic violence will still have prevalence. The question of incest we still have to address. Yes, we gotta think about a woman's beauty.
So once you're on the page and you get a little ad or so on coming up, just inform me of it, alright? That is YouTube doing their thing. So we just want to inform you guys, alright? Good afternoon to the persons on YouTube and the Facebook. Good day, good day, good day, good day.
We gotta think about agriculture.
I'm hoping that you guys are hearing me loud and clear. One person is saying bring the audio up. I think the audio is up enough. I am watching the pitch on my Facebook and on my OBS. I think the volume is good, alright? Anybody else having issues with the volume?
We gotta think about the nation's future.
I really don't want to find myself shouting this afternoon, alright? I'm getting the pitch. I don't know if anybody else is having any issues in terms of audio. Just indicate if you are, alright?
When the carnival over.
So, alright, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to each and every one of you guys. And I'm hoping that you had yourself a wonderful, wonderful one. And we are ready. Yeah, is there anybody else having issues? Yeah, because Brother Clive, you're the only person mentioning that. Yeah? You're the only person mentioning about the volume. Is there anybody else having issues with the volume? I'm picking my volume very well here. I don't want to go too much up because you would start getting a feedback. Is there anybody else having issues with volume or with hearing me clearly? So I don't think it's an everybody issue. All right. So Brother Clive, you may need to just check your setting. Somebody else is saying it's a bit low. Yeah. You see, I don't want to go too much up in terms of the pitch because you guys will start getting a feedback. Most other persons are saying it's good. What's about now? Are you getting me good now? I don't know. 2 persons. Somebody saying it's a bit low. Sometimes it could just be the setting on your device or whatever you're listening from. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just jump into some information before we start everything formally this evening. On the 20th, which is this Wednesday, yes, the new National Party public meeting will be taking place at the St. Andrews Northwest. That is in Bylands. Yes, it would be live streamed, but we are inviting each and every one of you guys to go on out and listen to all the information that we have to disseminate. All right? So other persons are saying there, all right, some persons are saying this is good. All right? So we're inviting each and every one of you guys to go on out there and be a part of the meetings that are going to be happening. Yes, for information's sake, we have seen a decrease of 48% in our gas prices, a decrease of 31% in our diesel prices, an increase of 37 cents in our kerosene prices. All right? Everything else remains normal. Am I seeing that? No. However, there is an increase in the 100-pound cylinder that has increased by $1.15. Yes, and if you're buying by bulk, you've had increased by 5 cents. Right? We have also seen an increase on the Carriacon PD Martinic, for the 100-pound cylinders by $1.15. So that's for information's sake. Also for information, I believe that on the southern side of the island, there are some work taking place down there. So you see, if I go up, you definitely would start getting a feedback. That is why I don't want to put the volume too much up. Because if I put the volume too much up, you start getting a feedback. That is what I don't want to, that is what I don't want to do. Yeah, I don't want to go too much up with the volume because you guys will definitely get a feedback. So what I'll try to do, I'll try to put the mic a little closer to my mouth so you guys might be able to hear me a little bit better, because I don't want to be screaming, and at the same time I don't want the volume to be too much up. I'm hoping that, you see, once I go up in volume, you start getting a feedback. Yeah? So maybe I'll have it checked and we get that all fixed. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I want to shout out this afternoon 3 of our, how should I put it, significant representatives, or should I say NNP representative. Understand, they're not parliamentary representative, but, you know, constituency leads and others. Yes? Now, Brother Dabrio, sometime last week, I saw him doing an exceptionally good deed within the closure area. Yes? And he was handing out hampers and so on to persons. Brother Cox out there in Carriacon, PD Martinic, ever so often, I ask myself whether or not Brother Cox is now a qualified carpenter or mason. Yes, he's into the construction process, in the rebuilding process of Carriacon, PD Martinic. Even 1 year later, he started from day one thereafter. And if you look upon him, he continues the work and continue to do the work. Yes, Sister Nolan, I don't know what you're made of, but whatever it is, I want to say hats off to you. She would have reached out to some of the primary schools within the constituency of St. David's, and the principals would have submitted names to her, and so she did a distribution of some school items in the St. David's area. So kudos. I know many of our other parliamentary representative and constituency leads, they are doing what they have to do, but I really want to shout out that tree today. Yes, I really wanted to shout out that 3 persons this evening because, as I said, they really have been doing an exceptional job. Yes, and we want to definitely recognize them in such regards. Right? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we also want to extend congratulations to all the winners that went through the carnival season and they were successful in whatever way or the other. Whatever title they would have won, whomever parish or whatever, wherever they were, I want to say congratulations to them. Carriacou and PD Martinique is even in the conversation this year in Golden winning the Groovy. Yes, so I want to say congratulations to all the winners. All right, ladies and gentlemen, at this stage, I wanted to take the time off to do this on Facebook, but I said to myself, I don't think typing would have done justice to what I want to really see and solemnly express. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I have never gotten the opportunity to walk along with Mr. Tafawa Pier as to be within a department or station in which he was in charge of. However, as the structure of the organization go, he was my superior. And Mr. Pier, within my tenure within the RGPF, was an individual in whom respect was not demanded from him, but based on his deportment, attitude, and attributes, you had to respect the individual. This evening, as having been a part of the RGPF and having known the individual personally, I want to thank Mr. Pier for your services given to Grenada, Carriacou, and PD Martinique. 34 years as a police officer anywhere in the world, having the rank that you have obtained, and with mere allegations of political affiliation, and to me it is just on the basis that his wife is a politician. I want to say thank you very much for the manner in which you carried not just yourself, but your family's name and what the RGPF expects from individuals who have obtained ranks like you have. I want to say thank you for the many police officers that you have molded within the RGPF. Whether or not your departure was not or will not be recognized by the Royal Grenada Police Force in the manner in which it should be, I want you to know that your deeds and work will never go unforgotten and unforeseen. Enjoy your retirement, sir, or your resignation period with grace and honor. You are very few that have obtained such a rank with very little to your name, whether it be allegation, castigation, or mere annoyance by the general public. The general consensus from the Grenadian public and the persons who have gone through and passed through with you can express that your demeanor as a police officer have always exceeded not just policing, but your characteristics as an individual. And I tell you guys, I didn't have enough time to type this. The very first time Mr. Pier saw me was when I started doing the little blogging. Yes? And when I keep telling people that I wonder on what level have you categorized Mr. Pier as to be politically affiliated, I think, as I said, the only thing you can mention is that his wife is a politician. Knowing fully well that I support the New National Party, the first time that Mr. Pier had a conversation with me, It took place at Dana's restaurant in town. I was sitting there eating, and he walked in. So he said hi to me, and in his way out, he turned to me and he said, I've realized that, in a nutshell, not verbatimly, I realize that you have gained a lot of traction on your program. Here is what I'll advise you to do. He said, write to a lot of business places now and have them come onto the program so that you can get ads. And they would pay you for the ads and so on. So every month you have you earn certain monies from them. He didn't turn to me and say, yeah, give NDC. Or yes, continue to support the NNP. Nothing surrounding politics did this man say to me on our very first lengthy conversation. He advised me to excel in the social media platform. He says it's a platform where persons can earn, and that was his advice to me, knowing fully well that I support the NNP and it was a safe space to have a conversation. I would not have gone out and say, oh, Mr. Pier said that. It was a safe space for him to have a political conversation. He was dressed in uniform. And even that occasion, he dare not spoke anything politically to me. On the second occasion, that's why I keep telling people, when all you want to jump on, oh, he's a politician and he wife and all these things. On the second occasion in Willis, on the very first occasion, Miss Pier said to me that she was running for the position as leader. Her husband sat in the vehicle and she said that to me, you know, she's looking to vie for the position, and I said yes. He sat there. And again, nothing surrounding politics. Not even, well, yeah, Prince, my wife running, so do this, or you can do this. Nothing surrounding that. And then when you look around social media, you hear persons saying, oh, he this and he did that. Let me tell you guys something. The only humiliating thing that I see here is that the RGPF and the helm of the RGPF, more so the Minister of National Security, this was the last officer in charge of the training school of the RGPF. And if he did not or doesn't deserve fanfare in his departure, then nobody else thereafter deserves it. But it goes to show, ladies and gentlemen, the level of political infestation within the RGPF and how they are politically minded, and they grieve and jealous somebody who can successfully walk the path. Successfully walk the path. All he did was stand by the side of his wife. That's all he did, as any husband should. And maybe some of them within the RGPF who's married should take a page from his book in understanding that when you hold those positions, there is a level of ethical conduct that you must present yourself, not just to the people out there, but as a husband or a father or an uncle. You see, some of them don't have this in them. So it's hard for them to recognize somebody of his standard. It is hard for them to recognize someone like him. Because you see, the other fellas at the helm of they like to run. Some sprinters. So the level of deportment and decorum when it comes to the social and marital life is diminishing. So they can't walk in his path. They can't bring him on a cruise and wind up on a few young constables. So all you won't give him a nice departure. But let me say this to you. His name has been written, and you can't remove it now. You cannot remove it. And it would never be removed. And I want all you to go with that. And none of you guys now can put you guys' foot in his shoe, not even his socks. Because you all are a bunch of misfit that sits in the helm of the RGPF at present. And don't come back now and play all you going and try to give him anything, because it means him and not going. I don't dash going. And you're disrespectful. All kind of dog and cat the last time they are see coming out of the police force, and they getting placard at big ceremony. being held for them. But a stalwart. And he, as I said to you, he didn't beg for that respect. He earned it. They tried to put all kind of thing against his name in there for you. All kind of thing. All kind of person who was collecting money and who this and who money laundering and who all kind of thing wouldn't pay tax. He should have locked up on you. This is what he should have done. He should have locked up on you. But instead, he understood what the levels some of you all are on. And so he rose above many of you guys. And so hence the reason why today all you feel the way all you're feeling. Yeah? Or you would continue to feel that way. Right? Anyway, we're moving on because I had to clear my chest on that one. Because I said I misspit at them. Yeah? You don't doing what they're doing. You don't jumping up how they're jumping. So ladies and gentlemen, now the carnival over. Now the carnival over as I started with the song. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Brother Joseph Andel, says that although the Trump administration has announced that it has taken steps to impose visa restriction on Grenadian government officials and their family members for the complacency in the Cuban regime medical mission scheme, the U.S. has an obligation to allow Grenadians to participate in the upcoming United Nations General Assembly. He ended by saying, I believe that all countries that host international organizations, they do have an obligation to all access to the members of the organization to be able to access meeting and facilities. Andel asked when questioned about the possibility of him being barred from attending the United Nations General Assembly that gets on their way in New York on September 9th. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is one to join a regime and get benefits from it. And it is another to simply just say you are part of the regime. Now, let me say this. There is many of them beating their chests. Oh, and they see doing work. And they see getting things done. But let me say this. This present administration reminds me of a family that is being cared by the neighbors. We yet to open our eyes and see that this administration has successfully raised any form of grant or amount. Well, I shouldn't say grant because grant is something coming out from the outside. But we are yet to see this administration raise a substantial amount of funds to ensure that they can finance something within the state. Right now, I feel like a stepchild in Grenada. Because if somebody not giving us something, they're lending us. It seems at this stage we are selling ourselves less to every and anything. And so we are going to continue to meet hiccups like this because we continue to allow any and everybody to come on our shows just to get a little bit of $2 in our pockets. When you check throughout the world, ladies and gentlemen, as to how the world have rated schemes and scammers, let me say to you, our dearly beloved motherland, Africa, sits on the top of that table. And I realize that we have recently started ensuring that our African brothers and sisters join in the conversation here in the Caribbean. It is welcoming, but it is frightening. It is careful and cautious. And we ought to understand the stance that we are taking. We are accepting, and you're hearing billions and millions of dollars continue to be given and handed out. I remember the Prime Minister asking the question during the campaign, when you see all the big finances and all the big things happening for campaign, ask yourself, what do they get in return? And I'm asking you, Grenadians, now, with all the millions of dollars that you're hearing, that you are continuing to hear, ask the question, what are they getting in return? Dr. Mitchell's NNP administration was accused for selling lands to foreign con men and con women. All kind of things was said. All kind of names was ridiculed to the NNP administration. Up to date, we are hearing so much of corruption and corrupt practices within this present administration. Ask yourself the question, when you see all the big numbers on the screen, first, ask yourself the question, what are they getting in return? And secondly, ask yourself, where is that money being spent? Recently spoke with an individual who pounded his chest and say, look, they're going to start a big project in the south of the island. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you one thing I learned about economics. And one thing I learned about giving to the people through economic returns is being able to give the poor people the opportunity to work. The project that is about to happen is going to be taken up by a private entity, private public entity. That's NAWASA. First question to be asked, do you believe NAWASA would employ new persons to do that project? The answer is no. So right there and then, you know we don't have an increase, no way or the other, in terms of employment. Because NAWASA go get their work done. It is not building a little road, so we need fellas to throw some cement, or we need fellas to just do a little electrical, or run some paint. This is not what we're asking. Yeah? It requires and will require professional employment. And so it debars immediately the opportunity for employment. But now I go pay the workers. Now, the other question to be asked is whether or not at this stage we are going to have the opportunity to know what is government's input in terms of their own expenditure. And let me say to you, just from this the thought, it would be minimal. Seems somebody asking a question about Chinese. When the Chinese got on our shows, they gave a number of housing projects. They didn't give money and run around on our shows as callous wolves. We saw what they were giving to Grenada. We saw it. We saw the projects, we saw the National Stadium. We saw them. They weren't promised, and there wasn't millions of dollars. Yeah? They gave, and they gave visibly. We can point out many of the projects and jobs and work that has been done by the Chinese on our shores. Many of it. When we ask the question, are we asking these questions to the Chinese? Yes, we don't need to ask, we have seen. We have visually seen what they have done. And there is still a few of them who have become contractors and started and continued working with the government of Grenada. So we have seen what they have done. They are not here and they came out into Grenada and they throw a 50 million day and they throw a 60 million day. No. They came, they got the work done, improved on where they can improve on, and they did what they had promised us to do. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the important question is whether or not Grenada benefits, and how are they benefiting? How does the layman man benefit? Yeah, we are 2 weeks away from the reopening of school. And what we're going to see later on is maybe they coming out and give the less fortunate parents maybe a little stipend, a little something to go and get something. Back in the days, that wasn't it. Yeah? We saw them went out there. Yeah? We saw them went out there. And the mothers and the fathers who wanted to make ends meet. And we had them cut those trees on the side of the road that would cut them vehicle, as the Prime Minister said, or damage them. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we are asking every one of you guys to open your eyes to what is happening in Grenada. Because there is more to come. As we get closer to the election, we are going to see spontaneous helpers. From since January, well, December late last year, government promised to integrate persons within the healthcare system to improve our healthcare. The minister himself said it in his words. He don't move the needle by an inch. It did not move the needle by an inch. We are still hearing complaints, and maybe even more complaints at this stage when it comes to poor health care in Grenada. With all the big places we're inviting everybody to come, we lack the ability to improve on our health care system. Why is it happening? I don't know. Now, we have heard recently, just before the carnival holidays, a lump sum of money, how much, about 750 million, somewhere thereabout, was given to Grenada. Why it was given? The reason why it was given? To what would it go to? Who knows? Jump into the comment section and tell me. Because I did not hear, and mind you, this is me being ignorant of the fact, because I did not hear the reason for the amount given. But government received it. And it is a joy throughout the length and breadth of Grenada by a lot of the persons who are celebrating. Whether or not it's to continue to pay a lot of the sue that have been happening, and we're jumping into that conversation immediately. Because I keep saying to you guys, if you do careful with our present Prime Minister, when you hear him talk, he would convince you that the sky is falling. Because when he talking, he does sound nice. I always tell you guys that. Something about him, when he's speaking, he's sounding sweet. He putting all the words together. And he boldly stood up ladies and gentlemen, when he spoke about CJ managerial, remember that speech? Compliment Sister Simon. I'm going to make you get a listen again. How he make the Grenadian public listened tentatively to what he believed was a corrupt practice. And mind you, let me tell you something. When you listen to this, I don't know if you're going to get it as quick as me. How quickly he removed himself from the fact that they ended the contract with CJ. Because you see, sometimes when people talk, I always say to you, listen to what they're not saying. Listen to what they're not saying. When you listen to this, you would hear immediately that this man jumped into his legal capacity. He knew fully well that what the government at the time would have done was nothing illegal. But due to malice, he allowed that to happen. Listen to him again.
Under our democracy, there are three arms to the state: the parliament, the executive, and the judiciary. We all ask, when we run for elections, to be elected to parliament. Parliament is an equal arm of the state, just like the cabinet of ministers. Parliament has to have its own budget, and the parliamentary offices have to be resourced from the parliamentary budget. The NNP administration, since 2016, took the vote that was allocated for parliament, placed it in the Prime Minister's office, and ran the parliamentary offices out of the Prime Minister's office.
So get this. Get this, Get this. First off, you're speaking of a legal process that happened. Whether or not you find it morally incorrect, you are mentioning a legal process that took place. They voted for it to move. So it wasn't a situation where the then Prime Minister wake up in the morning and made the decision. A vote was carried out and they agreed for it to be moved. So right there and then, you knew that the process was a legitimate process. You knew definitely, because you mentioned about a vote. A vote is not an illegal process. A legal process took place, whether it be morally, ethically incorrect. In your opinion, it is not illegal. It was not an illegal process. It was a legal process. Vote was carried out. There was not an opposition, whether or not you liked it or not. As you said, the past NDC was not prepared. They was not prepared. You would have said it in St. Lucia, not me. Right? So you know a legal process took place. Let's go. But before, let me hear you say it again.
Since 2016, took the vote that was allocated for parliament, placed it in the Prime Minister's office, and ran the parliamentary offices out of the Prime Minister's office. And the Prime Minister, now the leader of the opposition, admitted that the Prime Minister's office had no capacity, and it should never have, because that's not its job, to run or administer the offices of the members of parliament. And so what did he do? He contracted out those services to a private company called CJ's Managerial Services. And just so you understand that this isn't some joke, between 2016 and 2022, CJ's Managerial Services was paid over $13 million. So,
You know what fascinates me most? The people in the back balling, ooh, wow. You see, I tell you, you see knowledge. I thank God every day for the opportunity for knowledge. The level to understand. I've always said that. And I will always praise the Almighty for that. Always do it. And with all that he said, listen to this.
maybe because they feel there was no opposition in Parliament, they could do what they want. But Parliament isn't cabinet. And the institution of Parliament needs to be respected.
Understand intelligence again, people. Parliament is not cabinet. No. Correct statement. But at the time of which you're speaking, who run the Parliament? Was all cabinet members? Because all 15 parliamentary representatives were cabinet members. At the time, there was no opposition. So every parliamentarian was cabinet members. Don't make what he just said, it makes sound like he's something intelligent. At the time, there was no opposition. They did not win one seat. So every parliamentarian at the time were new National Party members. And so there were cabinet members elected, parliamentarian, but cabinet members. Everyone held a ministerial position. So everyone there, at this stage, we have a parliament and a cabinet. The mere fact that we have now had an opposition in parliament. But at the time, every parliamentarian, which is all 15 seats won by the new National Party, were cabinet. So at the time, you could have simply said, Parliament's decision is cabinet decision. Because every cabinet member were parliamentarians.
The net effect of this is that when the government changed, not us, I was advised by the civil servants recognizing the embarrassment that was to ensue, because it now meant, assuming I wanted to continue with the contract for CJ's managerial services, that the now leader of the opposition, and his MPs would have to come to me, the Prime Minister's office, to have their staff paid, to have their landlord paid, to have their utilities paid. Exactly. And so the civil servants, on their own, terminated the contract.
There we go now. Listen to him understanding the illegal thing that happened. You understand what happened there? Immediately, you hear who ended the contract? With all that he mentioned, that they had to come to me and me and me. Immediately, he changed one concept there. Not he that ended the contract. Immediately, that is what he did. With all that he said, and with the attempt to simply bring across the vicious point of, oh, the NNP did this, and the NNP did this, and he was in Kit Mitchell's office, because at the time, everybody had to come to Kit Mitchell. Kit Mitchell was in control of 14 members within his party and his government. So he could afford to do that. You can't. Because all you have is 9 members that you won in parliament and 6 for the opposition side, which at the time was the number. But he talked all what he talked. He gave numbers, he made sure everybody ball who and wah, and then immediately
to have their utilities paid. Exactly. And so the civil servants, on their own, terminated the contract. And since then, there have been requests for us to pay CJ's managerial services. I'm just reporting. Just reporting.
Yeah. So all the nice talk and the nice thing that he said, And how you hear you report, you hear clearly he had reported about CJ's managerial. We wanted that level of reporting when you had got the documents about oil and gas.
But the point I'm making is, MPs, including myself, have not been able to properly perform as an MP because Parliament itself had no money to properly staff MPs' offices, and are now only now beginning to do this because we have since instructed the Ministry of Finance to move the vote back with Parliament.
So listen to me. When NNP was in office and they moved the vote to the Prime Minister's office, to them it was illegitimate, unethical, and corrupt. But he instructed the Minister of Finance to move back the vote, and all of a sudden it's the correct thing to do. So when NNP had moved the vote to the Prime Minister's office, it was wrong. But when he instructed for the same vote to move back, it became legitimate and all right. So it's where the vote goes that makes it wrong. So it's where the vote goes. So the same legal process that the NNP did, where they would have moved the vote to the Prime Minister's office, he did the very same thing and move it back. The very said legal process was used. The vote, that is what made the difference. Where the vote stands was important. When NNP moved it, it was legitimate. When you move it, it was legitimate. But you want the general public to believe when NNP move it, it was illegitimate. But you take that very same vote and you bring it back and it becomes legal.
But when you're out of practice for 7, 8, 9 years, you're rusty. And so even as we speak, the signs for the MP's offices have not been made as yet. Furniture, in many instances, have still not arrived at our offices. And so 4 months after the election, we are unable to function as MPs because the resources that belonged under the parliamentary vote were moved under the Prime Minister's office. And the excuse that Parliament might be inefficient is not an excuse for taking monies that properly ought to be allocated to Parliament. If the clerk is not doing his job, as MPs we could complain. The clerk is responsible for somebody as well. You can't move the money out from Parliament, put it in the Prime Minister's office so you can give it to who you want. Because in essence, that is exactly what happened. And again, one client that CJ's had, the government of Grenada. So you do the math, 13 plus 6, 19, $20 million. So that is the state of play we met when it came to how business was conducted.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end. But I want you guys to come across to the point I'm bringing. He knew very well that the process was very well and very well legitimate. He knew that. He very well knew that. But the point that he wanted to drive home is the one he ended with. Making the people of Grenada, Carriacou and Petit-Martinique believe that NNP was there and NNP this and NNP that. Ladies and gentlemen, on August 8th, the CJ managerial earned their much needed cash for the breach of contract by the government of Grenada. Justice Agnes Aki ordered the following: that the claimant is allowed, meaning CJ Managerial Services, the defendant counterclaim is dismissed because the government tried to counterclaim with them, meaning the government's claim. The defendant, which is the government, shall pay the claimant damage in the sum of $70,730.87 with interest rate of 3% per annum from August 2022 until judgment, and at the rate of 6% per annum for judgment until payment is in full. The defendant shall pay Cayman prescribed cost in the sum of $10,000, 609.63 cents, pursuant Part 65 of the CPR Revised 2023 edition. So after all that was said, the fat lady has sang, and the counter-sue that they brought against CJ was thrown out. And this very said government is expected to pay in excess of over $90,000 for a claimant in whom they believed that the past administration was doing the wrong thing. Tell all you, time is what we are going to tell. Time is what is going to tell. Time is what is going to tell. All the nice fancy conversation, you hear how he stand up and he explained, or he attempted to explain the conversation of CJ's managerial. We wanted that same energy with the oil and gas conversation, because we had Brother Bowen come out and all front. He said they, he said they, he said it all about, and you could not have rebutted. Today, ladies and gentlemen, August 8th. So after 3 years, thereabout, the government is expected to pay those monies. Yeah? After they maliciously put their own concept together and try to bring it to the Grenadian public that, oh, Kid Mitchell and them, that is how business was running. That is how business was running. What Kid Mitchell and them was doing was illegal. That is what you want people to believe. That is what you want people to believe. What Kid Mitchell and them was doing was bad. And people, they sit down in the audience, whoa, what? Go and call all of them now and read the results to them. Read it. Let them know that what Kit Mitchell and the NNP was doing was legitimate. That what they did at the time in terms of the contract and the vote was legitimate. Let them know that now. But no, all you won't come forward. But we're going to make all you know. Tell the goons, those are the things that they proclaim that had happened back under the NNP. There is so much judgment now. We had the lady in legal affairs. We have the 6 persons or so in Carriacou, or more persons in Carriacou. Now we have CJ. We await faith. You're playing good? Time alone will tell. And I remember saying very early on the program, it's not what you do, but it's how you do it. As I said, whenever government changes, I expect a level of changes, or some level of changes. In many areas it happened. It has become our Caribbean culture. Well, I believe it's politics around the world. Yeah? That you would change persons in whom you're comfortable with. But there is a manner in which it has to be done. When the NNP administration took office, there was a commissioner of police sitting in the chair. He was sent on holidays, came back to the state, and he was given a work at the parliament. He wasn't fired. He wasn't fired. Everything that the NNP did back then, though you want to call it victimization, it was done on a legitimate process. Sir, your contract has ended. We are not going to be renewing your contract. Ma'am, we do not need your services anymore. Your contract is ending in November. You work until November, then you go home. Not persons having 7 months on their contract and you're just walking into their work on Monday and tell them don't come back to work Wednesday. Where all you learn that? Where all you learn that? This is not a legal process. I always say on my program, I expect NDC to send people home. I had expected that. But you can't come and take a man bread, a man go on holiday, they're serving people on the beach while they're on holiday. Hey. So you use a real job in through them. You playing job right through the end. There is a legitimate process. And ladies and gentlemen, we are into what? Close to what? 500,000, 1 million? 1 point something million? In which this administration is now having to pay persons in whom they maliciously dismiss and ended contracts. Mind you are calling those numbers there and them there, but you're hearing the 3% and the 6%. The mathematicians might be able to maths it faster than I do, or I will be able to. All because you did not take the time to do some retrospecting, understanding and consultation. That's what you have to do. Yeah, but we want to get rid of some NNP, you know. We got to get rid of some NNP. But there is a way you must do it. We want to end that contract, you know. But there is a way you must do it. Can't jump up today and want to send people home based on feelings. That's not how it happens. Somebody's asking in the comment section, is it true that after the budget was read in April, over $1 billion they trade in trading bonds on Caribbean stocks market for $25 million? Something he's not adding up. Well, I might have to investigate that. I will step into the investigation. But ladies and gentlemen, it goes to show that all the nice talk we heard when they took office, all the nice thing we keep hearing, and hear them again, ladies and gentlemen. I said this and I'm going to say this again. NDC administration like headlines. Yeah? They would put up, oh, the duck laid 14 nice ducks. They're not going to say those that dead. That is NDC for you. We received $70 million. They would not say for what and to help in producing what and develop what. We are living hand to mouth. They're living like me. This present administration living like me. Hand to mouth. What they make today is for tomorrow. What they make tomorrow is for the next day. No investment process. They are not lifting anything than the everyday. Go by this, go by that. We have to pay $1 for light. We have to pay $2. They don't increase on anything. You keep hearing monies here, there, and the other, and then you're hearing a whole different story when they release things. It is said that in comparison, the fiscal report published by the Minister of Finance for the first half of 2025, as compared to the first half of 2024, government revenue and grant has reduced by $112.6 million for the period. So how are we continuing to receive all these monies, but every time you put out a report, there is a decline in monies? How is that happening? In 2024, the revenue grant from the period was $740.3 million. But in 2025, we have received $627.7 million. How is this numbers diminishing when we continue to see you collecting day and you collecting day and you collect? How? You have a big African summit. Big African summit. Set Africans in the place And they think that many persons here by the Prime Minister, not understanding. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Caribbean process. This is a Caribbean process. The African bank and all these things, they're not even coming and put a bank here. I think it would be somewhere in Barbados. And read those things. You all are not reading. And you're jumping up. Yeah, the Prime Minister bring a set of African here. And what? It was an opportunity given to investors to listen how investors have improved in their life and all these things. They were NNP, so both us there. Go, they listen, because it was a Caribbean process. It was not an NDC something. No government in the Caribbean can beat their chest. Me and Motley and whoever, you hear they go back in the country and say, oh, look at what we do, and look at, you hear them go and do that? Because they understood the process. It's a matter of investors being able to come to the Caribbean and open venture for them to be able to invest and all these things. But you take it as a political gain. And then there's somebody supporters. What is affecting us now, our officials may not be able to be entering New York. This is important. And you hear the law about it? Shh, don't say nothing. Don't say nothing. All the media houses. Let just say now, Miss Emmeline Pier, God forbid, was coming out of her vehicle and she fall. Tomorrow, then all headlines. All about, meme, they're making meme, all kind of thing. This is an important conversation. And it is a deafening silence throughout the length and breadth of Grenada. Our officials, the big boys, may not be able to go into places in the United States because the Cuban regime held process. Come on. The person saying, oh, we're working on it and we're working. Yeah, well, give us a feedback. Because you're at the helm, and if you can go, then maybe you have to send me. But ladies and gentlemen, I want us to understand this conversation. Ask yourself when you hear the big names. Ask yourself the questions. How is it that you're getting money? Before you could have pointed all, and you see again. Watch this. When they came into office, all the projects that they say they had grant and they had zero implement, you could have cloned them out. You could have said, well, that project didn't start, the grant is there. That project didn't start, the grant is there. But now you get in and we don't even know what they're for. We don't even know what they're for. Right now you could point out all what NNP didn't do and where the grant was. But now you're getting money, we don't even know what they're for. We don't even know. And then when they want to come with something again to get a little grant, they wait until something is happening in Grenada, like around Christmas, hold on. They come with a bill again in Christmas, because they know carnival time, they come with a bill, they shove it there about children and the age, because they want to get the next grant somewhere. And you don't understand what's happening in Grenada. And unless all you get familiarized with the international world, unless all you understand what is happening in the international world, all you go understand what these fellas and them doing. Because if they start and they say they want to give Grenada 100 million, and you have to cut out everybody at the age of 16 finger, they come in and they pass in a bill for it. All you doesn't see these things. Get familiarized with the international world. And in the comment section, I saw somebody said that had nothing to do with Cuba. We know it has nothing to do with Cuba. We're quite aware. I mean, America will make it seem so. But just like them, America had their ways too, and their means as to getting around. So we understand the process. We understand the process. So you will hear the beat the chest about what is happening in the south of the island. But ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself the question, who does it really benefit? At the end of the day, it provides for the south of the island and the water process. But at the end of the day, does it increase the poor man? Does it better the life of, does it create employment? And again, last time we had a big conversation about that, and we were asking you guys to come out on Wednesday night. Those are conversations that we are going to touch. Somebody's asking how her brother Andy is quiet so well, boy. It's a question I've been asking since Carnival Monday. Because I see, well, I mean, the only job I see is the Prime Minister job. Yeah? And let me say something to you guys. Let me say this openly. And I'm not scared to say this. This is our culture. The Prime Minister decides to play job, let him play job. Don't even comment on it. I don't even bring it up. I don't even bring it up. Yeah? Because he's going, there we culture, right, fine. But you see, when it comes to the state business, I want you to play job here. I want your derby here. I want your derby here. Yeah? That's where I want your derby. That's where I want your play job. On our economy, on our structuring, our business here in Grenada. They have gotten quiet. Very, very quiet. Because not brother, not Andy alone. We're on. When last year Tevin. Watch what is going on. Watch what is going on. Pay attention. Pay attention. Yeah? They like the big name. And they like the big friends. To make sure the big friends eat our food. But you see we on the ground here? We could eat dust and they have business. We could eat dust on the ground here and they have business. Pay attention to all what I said to you. Listen again. Ask yourself, why was that money given? What was the purpose of that money given? And when they would be able to give account of the money. Yeah? At the end of the day, you see it coming. Remember before it happened, I said to you guys, when the debt levy went down, remember what I told you guys? Remember what I told you guys? You have to make your finances look good to beg. Make it look like if you're helping yourself. When the fact is you're not. You can't. But that'll make yourself look like. You go to the bank and you have to make your salary look good. You know, some of us here, we go in for visa and we get a bank account and we make them do a kind of thing for us. That's what's going on there. That's what's going on there. And what I'm saying to you, funny enough, I was telling somebody recently, I know many NNP past ministers and MPs. I remember very early as a young guy growing up in Victoria, I remember Dr. Modest leaving, I think she used to be in the villa with her mom, and out there by on the front street. And she took a little while, baby. I think Dr. Modest took a little while to build she house in the Diamond area. But let me say to you, all constituency you go in, and these fellas and them are within constituency. Either they buy a new house, a new piece of land, or they building somewhere. I could never understand fellas who is 2 or 3 years ago on zero. Men going live and say they don't have money in their account, but today they're buying 4 and 5 pieces of land. As Dr. Mitchell said, I am not here bashing anybody who wants to uplift their lifestyle. Because I don't expect you to be a minister and living in your mother place, a parliamentary representative. I don't expect that. But oh gosh, Do it with grace, no? Do it with grace. You could buy one. You can live on all the piece of land you're buying. My partner in Carriacou. You can live on all the piece of land at the same time, you know. You want. So, ladies and gentlemen, first I want to encourage you guys that the public meetings are going to be happening. For those of you guys who can't be at those public meetings, they are going to be live streamed. And with that being said, on days when the live stream are happening, this one will be at 6:30. So I may do an earlier broadcast. I may do an earlier broadcast in order. Right. So I may do an earlier broadcast on Wednesday, right? So that you guys would be able to see it before. I may edit it. I may put it up by about 5:30. You guys can go back and watch it. But on the days when they're going to be having public meetings, I'm definitely not going to infringe on the time, because even the party page and my page, we are going to be bringing the live streams. Yes, so even from my page, you will be able to see the live stream. If you go on NNP's page, because we want persons to look, you know, be a part of the conversations that are happening. Yeah, so even if sometimes you go on the NNP page and you may not be able to get it, you can always come on my page, which is the Class in Session program page, and you would be able to, or the classroom on Facebook, that's the page on Facebook, you would be able to get it there also, right? I'm going to try to see how we can put it on YouTube also, so you guys can get it. But if you want to go on out to the event, speak to your constituents, lead and other persons, so that you get boss and so on arrangements. Yeah? So I know some of you guys want to be in the front of the thing. Yeah? I don't know if, again, I would even be hosting, or the person that might be the host for it. So again, once that happens, you guys will know. Right? Somebody asking where you going with all that land. Alright, so we'll be back here again tomorrow. I just wanted to inform you guys, for those of you guys in the northeast area, the very well-known Twin, yeah, he will be burying tomorrow he would be church at the Bolio Cemetery and buried at the Vendom Cemetery, the Bolio RC Church, and buried at the Vendom Cemetery. All right. So if you guys want to go on out to that funeral tomorrow, all right. So if you guys want to go on out to the funeral tomorrow, you guys can definitely. I would not promise to be there, but for those of you in the northwest and the northeast area, I know you guys knew him very well. That's Twin, and his funeral will be held tomorrow. Yeah. Somebody's saying they're doing everything fast. Yeah. I'm telling you, they kind of feeling it, you know. They kind of feeling that energy. They're not comfortable in the seats. Yeah, a lot of them are not comfortable in that seat, and they're going to do everything in their power at this stage to do all what they can, to take all what they can. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be back here again tomorrow, same time, same place. Remember, we start back regular programming, and I wish you guys have yourself a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening as we continue with our conversation and programs right here on the Class in Session program. I was your host, Royalty James. Do have yourself a wonderful one.
You singing too much politics. Our problems won't go away. National debt levy will still be here with we, and they might tell we next to go into the IMF. Yes, we gotta think about the nation's future. When the carnival over, you attacking politicians and establish institutions religiously. That is why you won't win the crown. So it's time that you abandon commentary. Girl, it seems that you do not know the true purpose of this great calypso art form. Every true Caisodian has an obligation to inform. Because when the carnival over, we still need a brighter day. When we done dance the soca, our problems won't go away. There'll still be corruption, there'll still be drug barons. The whole healthcare system will still be frightening. We gotta think about the nation's welfare. When the carnival over, you dabbling in prophecy, you singing big philosophy year after year. Why don't you do like Inspector and sing something with humor like me, neighbor? You're the man beating the woman is a very serious question in this era. It is not something to make fun, to make you jump up and down in the mass grab. Because when the carnival over, we still need a brighter day. When we done dance the soca, our problems won't go away. Domestic violence will still have prevalence. The question of incest we still have to address. Yes, we gotta think about a woman's future. When the carnival over, we gotta think about the nation's culture. When the carnival over, we gotta think about agriculture. When the carnival over, we gotta think about our children's future. When the carnival over, we gotta think about the nation's future. When the carnival over.